Hello, fellow stargazers. This is Dr. Vicky speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center. Today, we're going to look at the astrology for the year 2024 for the sign of Scorpio. That's Scorpio Sun, Scorpio Moon, Scorpio Rising. And this is a general reading, just general considerations as we move into the year. If you want more specific information about the months, as they come, you can check out my Taroscopes. I do about a 20-minute review of the astrology for each sign, for your specific sign, right? And then followed by a tarot reading for the month. So that's always fun to check out. If you want to know more about the specifics of the astrology, I do put out weekly astrology discussions about the major aspects that are happening and how I look at them and how they may seem. Or if you'd like to know your astrological weather every day, you can tune into my channel for my morning walk through the garden, assuming that the weather cooperates, or little vignettes in my home, in my very interesting old home. So let's get started. But before we do that, I have selected a Plant Spirit Oracle card for the sign of Scorpio. This is a really neat little deck by Lisa Esterbrook, and it is put out by Finhorn Press. So if you're so interested, but it has all these plants and all of them have medicinal values. But for Scorpio, I picked mugwort, which is integration. Mugwort. I have this all over my garden. It's actually kind of invasive. Once you have it in your garden, you'll always have it in your garden. But there's a lot of really good things you can do with mugwort. Okay, so says there is a rhythm and a balance to all life, a dance between physical reality and the spiritual world. Mugwort opens and expands your consciousness to embrace all that you are, light and dark, body and spirit, helping you to integrate all aspects of your multidimensional consciousness into your everyday practical life. Mugwort. So this is the vibration or the plant energy or medicine in certain cases that you can apply to this year of 2024. So it is a year for Scorpio for integration. So let's take a look at what Scorpio has in store for 2024, or what's in store for Scorpio for 2024. All right, Scorpio 2024. Scorpio is a fixed water sign. Your mantra is I desire, and your ruling planets, you have two, or co-rulers as they're called, Mars and Pluto. Mars and Pluto. So let's take a look and see what's going on with Scorpio. So as a Mars/Pluto ruled sign, let's take a look at what Mars is doing this year. Mars starts the year at the lighter degrees of Sagittarius and actually makes it as far as 7 degrees of Leo until it goes retrograde. That actually doesn't happen until December 6th of 2024. So we have a pretty, I don't know if we'd ever call Mars smooth, but we have a pretty smooth run till we get to Leo, and then it turns retrograde. The retrograde will be the retrograde Mars will be most of December and I think quite a bit of January, and it actually retrogrades back into Cancer. But for you, for the most part, it's running through your signs. It actually runs through these signs a little bit faster. It runs through Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taurus, and then it starts to slow down because it's getting close to its retrograde. So it goes slower through Gemini, slower still through Cancer, and then of course stops in Leo. And so for you, Scorpio, a lot of your energy is spent in introspection. There's a little more energy spent in introspection this year. But there's definitely energy being out there in the world, but really kind of having to figure out how to interact with others from a more integrated, if we can borrow the mugwort's word, uh, more integrated way. Um, Venus, the planet of love, is actually, you can't see her here because she actually does not have any retrograde motion this year. So she moves through all of the signs. She starts with Venus in Sagittarius in January and moves all the way around um, until so she goes through all the signs. So she'll spend, about a month or so or less in each sign as she goes through. Um, so that's the story of Venus. But Mercury does have a retrograde, of course. Every year, Mercury either has 3 to 4 retrogrades. There are 3 this year, and they're all pretty much in fire, except for the middle one, which has a little bit of energy in Virgo. The first Mercury retrograde is in Aries. It occurs on April Fool's Day of all days and goes until the 25th of April. Excuse me. Moving from 28 degrees to 17 of Aries. That is your house of health. And so you do need to maybe review something. So Mercury would usually spend maybe less than a month in the sign if it's moving forward at a speed or a normal speed. But when it's retrograde, it can spend up to like 3 months in that area. So, well, not 3 months. Excuse me. I'm sorry, 6 weeks. Usually 6 weeks. And so Mercury's in that house of health, and it's a reevaluation. And so perhaps you need to do some reevaluation of your health. Now, let's talk about the Mercuries before I get into the nodes. Mercury again goes retrograde in August 5th to August 28th, from 4 degrees of Virgo to 22 degrees of Leo. So we can see I have this Mercury here that's green. That means it's Earth, Virgo, and then it retrogrades back into Leo. It spends a little bit more time in Leo than it does in Virgo, so we'll call it a fire retrograde. And this is when it's in Virgo and starts to go retrograde. It's in your 11th house. You're maybe rethinking some of your networks, some of your connections. Maybe you're rethinking some of your tribe mates. And then it goes into your 10th house, which is your house of career. So there are some things around that. How you're seen out in the world. You may have some reconsideration of that. Aries, of course, is the I am. And it's like, did I say Aries? Leo is the look at me, look at me. And so you may be, which is kind of unusual for Scorpio, because a lot of times Scorpios don't like to be seen unless they want to be seen. If you want to be seen, you're seen. If you don't want to be seen, nobody sees you. But everybody feels you, Scorpio. So know that even if you're sneaking in the room, somebody's hackles are going up because they can feel your energy, and Scorpios have intense energy about them. It's very deep. It's very, I don't know how to explain. It's like that's Scorpio energy to me, and people can feel it when you walk in a room. And the third retrograde is in Sagittarius. That occurs on the 26th of November to the 14th of December. So right around Thanksgiving and the start of the holiday season in December. And that's happening in your second house of money. So you may be reconsidering how much you want to spend on your Christmas presents, or you might have to kind of sort of refigure that out as it is. Is it worth it? Is it a value? And the like. Okay. We also have some eclipses to talk about. Now, the nodes of the moon are in Aries and Libra. The north node is in Aries. Lucky, right? We're glad that the south node has moved out of your sign and is now in Libra. And so there's a little less stress in a way on the Scorpio for that reason. But the north node in Aries in your 6th house is asking you to be practical and to take the initiative. And if there are problems that need to be solved, that you need to take the initiative to do that, while the South Node in the 12th house is asking you to let go of ways and relationships that cause your own undoing. Okay. We have the eclipses and we have the eclipses around the nodes. The only time we can have eclipses is when the sun and the moon are lined up with the nodes of the moon. We start with actually a full moon lunar eclipse at 7 degrees of Libra. That happens on the 25th of March. So right after the sun goes into Aries, actually. So right after the equinox, right? Spring equinox in the summer, in the northern hemisphere, and winter, spring equinox in the northern hemisphere, fall equinox, sorry, in the southern hemisphere, that balance time, right? And then we have the eclipse in Libra, another sign of balance. It is a north node eclipse because the sun is on the north node, but the moon is on the south node. And so it can be a real big releasing time at that time. Full moons bring awareness. And the lunar eclipses are very emotional and not always as I don't know, I don't want to say positive about things, but it definitely is a time of release. And with the moon on the south node, I'd say it's definitely a time when you're going to be letting go of something. Again, that's 325. And then we have the new moon, which is, so all the eclipses this year start with the full moon eclipse, and then it goes to the new moon eclipse. Sometimes it's new moon and full moon, but not now, not in this eclipse cycle. And so there's this energy of having to release something before you can start something. Okay. And then the new moon occurs on the 8th of April, and that's at 20 degrees of Aries, right here in that 6th house. So this is a time of starting something new, a new project, a new work, perhaps new service, a new health regime. This would be a really good time for that. And it is about sort of initiating practical things for yourself so that you can sustain yourself, right? So you can sustain yourself, whether that be through health or through the relationships you choose to be in. So those are the spring eclipses, north node eclipses, moving into the unknown. And then in the fall, we have the fall eclipses. It's always 6 months apart. And those eclipses start with a full moon, again, lunar eclipse, this time in 26 degrees of Pisces. So it is in a different sign, but it is still with an orb, 18 degrees. It has to be within 18 degrees of the nodes of the moon. So then we know that the nodes of the moon are starting to come to the lower degrees. In fact, the nodes of the moon, I think, start at, let me see, do I have it here? Where did the nodes start? I don't know if I wrote it down. Yeah, I don't think I did. But the nodes of the moon stay in Libra. Almost at the end of the year, I think it's like at 2 degrees of Aries Libra. So it almost makes it all the way through. And then the nodes will shift into Pisces and North Node in Pisces, South Node in Virgo come 2025. So we have the full moon in Pisces, and then we have, and that full moon, actually, lunar eclipse in Pisces is going to be conjunct Neptune. Is going to be conjunct Neptune. So there's what would we call a mystical sense to that full moon. And then we have the new moon solar eclipse at 11 degrees of Libra. That occurs on the 2nd of October, and that's going to be happening in your 12th house. Another opportunity to let go of something and start something new. But you have to first let go before you can start something new. Did I say that already? Okay. All right, let's see what else we want to see here. Jupiter, the planet of expansion, has been in Taurus and in your 7th house. Nice place for Jupiter. Jupiter is an energy of freedom, though, so it's very possible that, as you know, Jupiter is lucky and it goes through your house of relationships, you could have freed yourself from a situation. That's always possible. It's still possible. Jupiter's in there until the 25th of May, and then it moves into uh, Gemini, and then Jupiter is going to be moving through that eighth house of yours. And you know, your eighth house is a house that you're very familiar with, being a Scorpio. Jupiter expands things. And in Gemini, it could expand conversations that you have about your shared resources and your shared values with someone. It's also the place of taxes. So it might be an opportunity for you to really take a look at your finances and things like that, and perhaps how better to serve yourself by doing things a little bit differently. Maybe you have your own business, it's not set up quite right. Maybe you need to figure out how to best organize that as Jupiter moves through that place. Saturn, the planet of no, well, the tester. Saturn is both the tester and the teacher. Is sitting in your fifth house. It's in Pisces all year, and it's in your fifth house all year. So fun is a little bit sometimes hard to come by, but constructive fun should not be hard to, if it's good for creativity, because it sort of forces you to make it real. There's a lot of energy this year for you about making it real and making it so that you're building stuff that can help sustain you. Neptune is also there, and of course Neptune's there for 14 years. It's in a sign for 14 years, and it can spiritualize. The fifth house can be a very passionate house. It's the natural house of Leo, and it's romance and this, that, and the other thing. And so there can be a sense of like, it's there and it's not there, it's there and it's not there. But it can also be a spiritualization of your creativity. Okay, so Neptune, Neptune spends a long time in each house, and it's a very subtle energy. In fact, you may not even know it's happening until it moves out of that house, and then you're like, wait a minute, what just happened over the last 14 years? 14 years flies by, actually. Think about it. All right, Uranus, yes, our friend Uranus in Taurus, still in your house of relationship, that seventh house, and it's going to stay there it's in Taurus all year. It doesn't move out of Taurus until 2025, I think. I think that's when it first moves into Gemini again. So we still have that, that energy of awakening, illumination. It could be awakening you to how you relate. Uranus usually pulls the rug out from under you. So you might have had numerous relationships where the rug has suddenly is gone and you're flying through the air, and then you fall on your butt or your head, and then you have to figure out what just happened. But if for 7 years you're real surprised at the beginning, but by the end of the 7 years you're like, oh, here's another one of those. And as I said in another video for another sign, and I can't remember which one it was, eventually you realize that every rug you step on, you need to be extraordinarily aware that you're on a rug. And so if the rug does start to move suddenly or otherwise, you're a little bit lighter on your feet. And so you awaken and you're more awake. And when you're more awake, you can almost feel it or see it coming in a way that you couldn't see before. So there's that energy. And then Pluto, your other ruler, right? Pluto is in Capricorn until the 20th of January. It goes up to 2 degrees 6 minutes of Aquarius. We remember what Pluto in Aquarius felt like back was March to the beginning of July, I think. Pluto was in Aquarius, so that period of time was a little taste of what Pluto in Aquarius is going to be like. We get much more Pluto in Aquarius this year, from the 20th to the 3rd of September, when it has, because in the meantime it retrogrades, and it will retrograde back into that last degree of Capricorn, and it's in that last degree from the 3rd of September till the 20th of November. Right, right, right there for the presidential election. It's in that last degree of Capricorn, and actually leaves and goes into Aquarius on Biden's birthday, which is interesting. But yeah, so that's the end of Pluto in Capricorn. And boy, has it been a wild ride. It went in 2008 to the drumbeat of a worldwide financial crisis, right? So we will see what happens when it leaves, what that's going to mean. And for you, though, personally, it means that Pluto finally leaves your 3rd house of your immediate environment, your siblings, it's like your mind. It's been it's been there since 2008, so it's been a deepening of the mind, and you guys already have a pretty deep mind, so it's even more so. Now Pluto moves into the 4th house of the soul. Pluto and Scorpio are associated with the soul, and so it's just more soul work. But it is the 4th house, so it could very well bring up some family trauma issues, and it's there for a long time, so you don't have to get it all. You're not going to get all of it all at once, but it is there, and it is square your Scorpio energy, and it's a 1st quarter crisis and action square, so you're going to need to take action. And again, the action seems to be actions that will help to sustain you and practical application. It's really about moving away from those relationships that keep you in chaos. And a lot of that came to fore when the South Node was in Scorpio. And now it moved out in, was it July? It moved out in July and moved into Libra. So now Libra gets some of that fun South Node elephant stuff flying at it. But anyway, South Node is the tail, the North Node is the head. And there's dangers at both ends, right? When you're talking about dragons, it's called the dragon's head and the dragon's tail. All right, so that is what I see for Scorpio. Let me stop the share here. Okay, so as I said, if you enjoy this, please give a like, a thumbs up. If you would like to be a patron of mine, I do have a Patreon page. The links are below. Hi, my Patreon people. You guys get this first anyway, and a few extras. And if not, you can get a reading with me if you want something more specific to your exact chart. That's always the most accurate. I do combination astrology, Kabbalah, numerology readings. The link is below. So hopefully I will see you again. Again, check out my tarot scopes every month, because you'll get a more specific energy for the month for your astrology and then the tarot reading. So, all right, well, I'll see you again soon, hopefully. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful month. Have a wonderful year. Have a wonderful life. From my heart to yours and my home to yours. Namaste.